Perfect. All right. We're going to get started. Everybody, if you can find your seats, we'll get started. And we're going to start actually with Deb Cizek, just a legend in the business. And so, Deb, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're just going to go rapid fire with each of your subjects. So I'll turn it over to you.
It's tech. I can't do this stuff.
Use that one.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to tell Vince that if he ever asks me to do this again, I get to go first. Because unfortunately, Arun and Fred said everything that I was going to say. So I had to kind of make this up in the last hour. So it could be a little rough. I'm going to talk to you about the mistakes that I've made over the last 40 years. They're far more prevalent than the things that I've learned. In doing so, I kind of had to do some soul searching. And I asked myself, what am I spending my time doing right now? And after I looked at my schedule and after I looked at my activities, I learned that I'm spending an inordinate amount of time scrolling on Facebook. Now, that's a very valuable thing to do, isn't it? I have more useless knowledge in my brain than any of you can possibly imagine. For example, did you know that if you take a certain pill on Facebook, that you buy on Facebook, you can lose 25 pounds in 2 weeks, and without taking a single step into a gym, I can regain the body I had when I was 17. I looked at those pictures and I thought, but I never had that body. But apparently, if I buy this pill, I will be able, in my 70s, to have the body of a 17-year-old. So I'm pretty excited about that. Facebook had me hooked. I headed down the rabbit hole, and I thought, what else am I going to learn from Facebook? Well, I found out with this pill, I can, in 10 days, feel so confident I can take control of any situation that I walk into. I can be the superstar. And more importantly, if I'm going to a class reunion, the big banana, I will be the shining star. And I will also be able to reconnect with my old flames. Now, this is where I was a little puzzled. The last thing I want to do is reconnect with someone that I rejected 50 years ago. And my husband is even going to be less excited about me paying money to reconnect with an old flame. Speaking of my husband, Ron, that's the first mistake. Not that I married him. No, that's not the mistake. Up until about 2 weeks ago, I thought that was a good decision. Normally, we think of him as a fairly intelligent man. He's mastered his life pretty well. But 2 weeks ago, something must have happened to him. We were watching TV, and an infomercial came on. Now, he's not a gullible guy. No. But he became intrigued by this infomercial real quickly. And it was an infomercial for crepe erase. Now, for those of you that are not on Facebook, you may not know what that is. Crepe is that little annoying thing that happens with age, and it makes your skin look like crepe paper. And then little bumps occur underneath. It is something that when you see it, you immediately want to hide it, and you hope no one else knows what it is. Well, I'm watching my husband watch this infomercial, and about 10 minutes in to the infomercial, he turns to me and he says, "Hun, have you ever thought about buying some of that crepe erase? It might be real helpful for you." Now, I didn't say anything to him. I simply looked at him, and I thought to myself, after I kill you, I am going to bury the body so well that they will never find any evidence. Ron made a big mistake. We all make mistakes, and we do it all the time. Update on Ron. He has not been sentenced to death yet, but he is on severe restricted probation and will be for a very long time. So what I want to kind of share with you today is what are some of the mistakes that I've made, people around me have made, and what are some of the things that I can help you quickly get to your goal. The first thing, something that's very important, and I don't care if you've been in the business 2 weeks, 2 days, or 20 years, I want you to hire a coach or find a mentor. All professional people have a coach, mentor, if they're athletes, if they're singers, if they're actresses. If you read any book, any autobiography of any successful business person, they'll always dedicate a chapter or two to that mentor or that coach that got them to where they are today. Now, can you do it without a coach? Of course you can. But then I'm going to have to call you a FISBO. You're doing the same thing. You're thinking you can do it on your own, but you're losing time, and in the end, you're losing money. After you've hired that coach, I want you to keep that coach. What do we all do? We find the next shiny penny, shiny object, and we run off. Do not do that with a coach. Be sure your coach is going to push you and drive you to be the best version of yourself, but with that coach, stick with them. And I kind of think about it like this. What if Patrick Mahomes, who likes Andy Reid right now, or we think he does, decided kind of halfway into the season, he was throwing some interceptions, things weren't going so well for him, and he decides that he's going to look at what Josh Allen's doing. He kind of likes his coach better and decides that he's going to start doing what Josh Allen is doing and what Josh's coach is asking him to do. How's that going to work out for Patrick? Not so well. I see a lot of superstars out here, but none of you are Patrick Mahomes of real estate. If it doesn't work for him, why would it work for you? The second thing I want you to do is start immediately surrounding yourself with people who already are what you want to become. They say you are the sum or the average of the 5 people you spend the majority of your time with. Choose those friends wisely. Someone said this morning, you'll never have a completely balanced life. You won't. We're all juggling 15 balls in the air at any one time. Big mistake I made when people said, I don't know how you do it. You're doing 10 things at the same time. That wasn't a compliment, guys. That was an insult. Never give a piece here, a piece there, a piece there, and everything to anyone. The difference between successful people and those like us that are struggling some, successful people have learned to be 100% present in the moment. Don't go to your child's baseball game and spend the entire time on your phone with a client. You're not a brain surgeon. You're not an ER doctor. For heaven's sakes, we're realtors. And like Arun said this morning, put that phone down and remain focused in the moment. Make decisions quicker and fail fast. You learn far more from any mistake you make than from the victories you have. Be that agent that everybody wants to work with, and be a mentor to the younger people in our industry. And the last and most important point, in my opinion, is real estate is our job. Real estate is our career. But real estate is not our life. We have family, we have friends, we have adventures, we have activities. We have an opportunity to make a beautiful life. I want you all to go out there and create that life. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. All right, next up, and Doug, if you will, tell them who you are and where you're from and kind of a little bit about your business, and then I'll let you roll from there.
Sure. Doug Edrington, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Have a team of 27 agents, about 10 staff. We are trending about 700 houses this year. Biggest year we've ever had, so we're really proud of it. Jimmy and I were talking a week or so ago, and we were sharing some information. He asked me to talk about something that I'm really excited about right now, very passionate about, because this is applicable to every single agent in this room. You can either teach it, you can look in the mirror and judge yourself about it. But I think the biggest thing here is that I want to share today is the difference between a concierge agent and an advisor agent. So I talk a lot about this with our team of helping you decide who you are, because there's two very different roles here. I would argue, I'm going to go over about 5 different steps. I think this is super noteworthy, by the way, so you might want to take a few notes down. How many of you, or better yet, just tell your neighbor real quick, am I a concierge agent or am I an advisor agent? Real quick, just look to your neighbor and say concierge or advisor. They don't need to know why. They don't have to know all the details. Just which one are you? Okay, so now that you know that who you're sitting next to. Oh gosh, wow. This is definitely a room of realtors because you have to explain everything in great detail, right? One word. All right, so now let's think about this for just a brief second, okay? I would argue that most people in this room want to be the advisor, right? Now, why do you want to be the advisor? You can tell them what to do. You can drive the conversation where it needs to go, right? How many of you have always taken the advice of a concierge in a hotel? You walk up to the hotel and say, where's a good restaurant? And then they pull a coupon out from underneath where they get a $5 kickback for sending you there, right? Like no one, they don't always listen to the concierge. So I want to challenge everybody for just a second to be the advisor. Now, how do we become the advisor? Has everything to do with authority. What I want to do with you guys today is I want to go over 5 topics of authority, the 5 factors of authority. And this will help potentially make you think a little bit differently or share with your team or your colleagues on how you can take it to the next level, okay? Factor number 1 is confidence. So let's think about for a brief second what confidence is. My definition of confidence is a complete openness to social harm. Think about that for a second. A complete openness to social harm, right? I don't know if she's laughing at me, but I'm okay with it. Right? No, but it is. It truly is, though, if you think about it. A complete openness to social harm. Now, I'd say the biggest killer of confidence is focusing on status or bureaucracy. Does anybody know anybody in the room that has ever put their ego up front and next thing you know, everybody's just kind of judging them? They're like, I really don't want to listen to this guy anymore. I don't want to listen to this gal anymore, whoever it may be. You're just killing your confidence, right? So think about how you operate with confidence. Now, some of us need to figure out how do we get there. I would argue the cheat code, because confidence is just something you have. It's what other people think about you too, by the way. But the cheat code is just a strategy that I refer to as classroom, practice, performance. You guys are all in a classroom today right now learning something new. The question is are you going to take it to the next level and actually practice it before you go on stage and perform it with your clients? Right? So I'd really challenge you to think, are you taking those 3 steps to get to the place you want? We've all seen the shows on TV where Simon Cowell is going to push the button or whatever show it is. They could be the best singer on stage, but if they forgot the words, what do? Next. They're off, right? So classroom practice performance could be the cheat code to help you with confidence. Number 2, you're disciplined. You're disciplined. Here is the challenge I want you to think about when it comes to discipline. I want you to judge yourself on this one really hard, okay? What your off-camera behavior is really describes who you are as a disciplined person. Think about that for a second. I know, for example, many people in my life, you walk into their home and it's beautiful. And then you open a closet door and like bodies fall out. Right? Are those people full of anxiety most of the time? Because they're worried about just every little detail about what everyone else thinks about them. But then you start to identify that they may not be disciplined as one thinks, right? Discipline is measured by what people feel you do, not what you actually do. And so I could imagine, like Steve, for example. When I met Steve yesterday, everybody say hey to Steve, right? Just from physique and health, I assume you're a very disciplined person, right? Okay? Is it something that like we just naturally think about certain things unconsciously? And again, this is the 5 factors of authority. If I see someone who appears very disciplined because I feel that about them, I'm going to respect them at a different level probably. Does this make sense? So, is this helpful? Yes. Going down the good path here? Here's something else to think about. Kind of these 5 traits right here, your weakest one is the reason you're not making the amount of money that you want. Okay? Environment, time, appearance, social, and financial. If you just think of those 5 words right there, your environment, is your car clean? Is your house clean? Is your desk clean? Right? Or appearance, however you choose to dress, are you consistent with it? And is it say who you are? Right? How do you manage your time? I think we talked earlier this morning about someone was talking about, maybe it was you, Jimmy, talking about you just know people always that just always struggle with time, right? That ends up harming their level of how they're perceived as a disciplined person. Make sense? Okay. Number 3, leadership. This is my favorite one. I'm going to spend the most time on it. 4 and 5 are real simple. I want everybody, if you're taking notes, I want you to draw something for me for a second, okay? I want you to think of a pendulum, all right? So let's say my lanyard here is the pendulum, all right? In the middle of that pendulum, I want you to write down the word composure. Composure. If you swing to one side of that pendulum, I want you to write down the word collapse. Swing to the other side, I want you to write down the word posturing. Okay? Leadership is a measure of composure. Do people follow people that have the best ideas, or do people follow people that are the most followable? The most followable, right? What makes them followable? So let's think about this pendulum that I'm talking about here. If we swing to one side, collapse. Has anybody ever been in a position where they just like, I shouldn't be here. I'm scared to death. I'm shaking. I don't want a microphone in my hand. I'm unprepared. That doesn't make me seem very followable, right? Because I'm trying to be composed right now. But if I'm unprepared, I'm likely to collapse, right? Now, we've also seen the pendulum swing to the other side of posturing. I call it peacocking, right? Have you ever been around someone before and you absolutely, you're like, this person is full of themselves. Like you just stop following, you stop listening, you have nothing to do with them. This is one for realtors specifically that we should all look in the mirror and really think about, because sometimes when we brag about being number one this, number one that, or number one company, or whatever you want to say, it really comes off as peacocking sometimes. It comes off as posturing. People stop wanting to follow you. Your goal is to be composed. Now here's the thing, it's not a constant. If you drew that out, put a 5 at the top, and then go 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1 both ways, I would challenge yourself after you get done with a listing presentation or you get done with a buyer presentation, reflect back and say, do I rate myself 1 out of 5 here? 5 being composed, 1 being either posturing or collapsing, right? And so it doesn't matter. It's not a +1 or a -1. It's you want to be a 5, right? Every single time. Does this make sense? Okay, so leadership's pretty important to demand that authority. Number 4, gratitude. This one's simple. I can be grateful for both things, big and small, good and bad. Who here has ever had a bad day before? Every single one of us. Are you the kind of person that's grateful for the bad things that happen to you because you can learn from them? They're just gifts that you can learn for the next day. We know there's a lot of people in our lives that just are not grateful people. And so are they the kind of people that demand authority when they're talking with clients? Probably not. So just self-reflection when it comes to gratitude. Number 5, enjoyment. I like to say I can calmly enjoy the moment and have perspective to assume the best in others versus assuming the worst. It's nice when you just enjoy things calmly in the moment and you assume the best of others versus assuming the worst. A little bit of a difference of pessimist and optimist and that kind of thing. But 5 factors of authority, I think will help you become the advisor agent versus the concierge. Sound good?
Thank you, Doug.
That's all I got.
Yes. Thank you, Doug. You're good. Iris, we'll come to you next. Iris Lobo, and we'll turn it over. Hey, if you don't mind, tell them a little bit about your business, who you are, and then roll on with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmy. My name's Iris Lobo. I am licensed in Omaha, Nebraska and Iowa. I currently lead the Allure Real Estate Group. We started a couple years ago, and we predominantly serve the Latino community, investors, and anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate. So that's that. It's good? Okay. Okay. So there we go. Yeah. Maybe I should stand up. What I want to talk about today is what changed my life, because if you would have talked to me back in 2017, 2018, I would have never imagined I would have a real estate group, let alone had a big pool of the investment community in my area. So I want to talk about mind shift. So that's that moment in our lives when things just shift and it hits you. Okay? So I would just say when I started in real estate, I didn't have the blueprint for my business. I didn't have a mentor, cheerleaders. No one handed me the fast track to do what I needed to do. I struggled really bad trying to sell houses. It was the weirdest thing ever in my life. But again, it's a new career, right? I never sold anything. I worked 9 to 5. So I completely felt the underdog energy severely back then. So I felt left out. I felt overlooked. I didn't have any clients running up to me and saying, hey, I want to hire you. You seem like you're going to get me the best deal. So I just felt like I was wanting to get in and nobody was, I didn't feel invited. So that was really tough. And it made me decide that I needed to change something because I was scared and had no idea what I was going to do here in this industry. So the choice that I made is I did stop waiting for permission from people. I stopped wishing someone would open the door. And so I just decided that, excuse my language, I built the damn door myself, which I did. And what happened there in that moment is I decided if I want to be known and recognized and I want these clients to chase me and not feeling like I have to chase them, which is okay if you have to chase your clients, I needed to become an expert, and I needed to become an expert fast. So what I started doing is I did the decision thing I was telling you guys about. Belief over fear, action over excuses. I mean, I had every excuse, just like, some of us here in the room may have had at the beginning, or maybe even with like a career or a switch, a change in the market. Things are not the same now. We have to do things differently. So I started thinking outside the box because I wasn't about to be Burger King. We're going to be Taco Bell. Just kidding. I started branding myself, investing in myself, and I started committing fully. So I became intentional with every single action going forward because I wanted this so bad. So what was the action plan? Because obviously you have the mind shift. You're thinking, I need to believe in myself. I need to do this. Okay, but what is this that you have to do at this point, right? So again, going back to the branding thing, I'm bilingual. As a matter of fact, my whole entire real estate team is bilingual, which I didn't do that on purpose. Pretty cool. I'm a bilingual voice in my community. So that was my number one strength right there. I was bold before this situation here, faith-filled and polished. And I was getting ready to become the expert, so I was going to present myself like the expert. But again, I have to be the expert too, so I have to have the knowledge to be the expert. So it took discipline. I showed up on camera or to events when I was tired and didn't feel like being there. I follow up when I was tired. I stayed consistent. There goes that word again. And also another thing is I wanted education. So I thought to myself, these are just thoughts that are like literally going in this exact, way that I'm telling you. I said, well, hell, I'm paying money to the, MLS people and the RPR people, So if I don't know the market, well, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to dig and I'm going to find out what the market looks like. So that was the number one step. Then I started mastering the market trends, pricing, strategies, that kind of stuff. I asked questions. I researched nonstop. I didn't have any friends, so that's probably why I researched. I'm kidding. I did spend a lot of time researching this stuff. Anyhow, so the next thing was the outreach, right? I didn't really have a network, and I didn't attend anything, in my life at that moment. So I started networking. I started doing community outreach. I started, sponsoring events and mingling with the movers and shakers of my community. So that opened the door for me to be in rooms that I had not been before. and again, I do the other little things that us realtors do, little mailers, little touch points here and there, which is fine. I'm more of a hands-on in the mix with people type of person. That's how I like doing business. So the big important thing for me, because again, I was not an expert, I needed self-development. So it was really important for me to change my paradigm and change who I believed that I was. So I started reading books, podcasts. I mean, I'm in my car listening to podcasts all day long around this time. Real estate podcasts, self-motivational podcasts, you name it. I'm studying these people. I'm studying the top producers, and they had no idea I was watching them. And I'm studying their numbers, and I'm studying what they do. Where are they selling? What do they look like? That kind of stuff. And I wanted to adapt from everyone that I was watching, but I didn't want to be them, because at the end of the day, I can never be them. I don't want to be them. I have to be real with myself. And for me to sell it, I really got to feel it. So I customized things to fit Iris Lobo. So basically, it wasn't like I had talent. It was repetition and grit for me at that moment. And again, the reason why I want to talk about this mind shift thing is just to go back to anyone here that feels, a little left out in the industry, and it's a cool industry, and you see people doing amazing things, or you're starting out all over again because things have changed and the olden days are not going to work anymore. It's okay to start over again. It's okay to have that mind shift. And I wanted to talk about this again. It's so important to me because that was my struggle in the industry. That's what was preventing me from being successful, was me. And I had a slide, and I'm sorry, guys, I can't multitask with all these things, so you're just going to have to let me talk about it. So what was the result from all these things that I did? I would say, hitting numbers, that was pretty cool. Pending numbers here, top sales numbers every other quarter. That was really awesome. And then I went from what I felt unseen to, that was pretty amazing. I just found out we were the top 50 NAR rep in the country. That I didn't imagine I would be there when I was struggling. So that's pretty cool. And the reason why that happened, and I understand that too, is because we saw an underserved community, again, our Latino community, and we stepped up and we became their advocates. And I didn't do this just myself. This is a team effort. My entire team, that's how we move. We operate in unison. We're like, I tell people all the time, we're like an ant community. We all work for the same goal and support each other. So with that, I built the Allure Real Estate Group from scratch with purpose and people first culture. So again, we're not just numbers. They're not just numbers. We're family, the unity thing. We stick together and we support each other. I wanted to change the culture with that. I didn't want to be a team. First of all, I didn't even want to be a team owner. I didn't know I was going to be one, but it happened. But I don't want to lose touch with the people that I've helped and I mentor. Because that's important to me. I dealt with things in the industry. You just you don't know anything. You deal with stuff. So I want to be the change, and I want to be the inspiration behind. I just want to be an inspiration for people. So I turned that rejection into reputation. All those things I was going through, and I was moving fast paced. But one pivotal thing that I did do is I would go to a listing appointment. I would go meet with a buyer, and sometimes they did not pick me, and that kind of hurt more back then, like I'm gonna sit on a couch and cry thing. But then I got myself up and I would make that phone call and I say, hey, listen, I understand you didn't pick me, but I want to understand why, because I want to know next time, what is it that I could improve or whatever. Maybe it's just a personality thing. I don't know. I thought I was pretty cool, but whatever. But those are the important things that I would have not known had I not did my research, had I not been observing all the other people that were performing at a higher level. So you just got, just work with what you have, your tools, and whatever you can find. We have ChatGPT now. I didn't even have ChatGPT then. If I had ChatGPT, I probably would be a multimillionaire right now. Seriously. So anyway, the takeaway from this is, just do what needs to be done to get to that next level. No matter what level. You could be here, you want to be there. Just remember that nobody's coming here to crown you in that position. You got to crown yourself. You don't need someone to believe in you. That's actually going to come after you start believing in yourself. And, the challenge is define who you want to be in this industry and take bold actions towards it every day. I do want to have a closing line, but I do want to tell a quick little story if I have time. This is really important because this is the day that I decided that, made that choice, and I have a date, November 9th, 2018, I think, or 2019, I don't know. Anyway, it was November 9th, it was a Monday. So that weekend I went to my dad's store in Lincoln, and I was just like distraught, like, oh man, dude, like I have only sold like one house in like 2 years or something like that. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad for me. And he's like, you know what, why don't you just go get this other job, a real job type of thing. You know, he's just trying to direct my road. And it's like, no, I don't want to hear that. So I left and, you know, again, crying, went next door to my brother's store. And I started ugly crying even more, like Kim Kardashian crying. And, you know, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, Raul. Like, it's just not working out. I want it so bad. And my brother's like 6'6", stands over me. And I remember he's sitting here looking at me. He goes, I'll tell you what to do. And I'm like, like, tell me, dude. Like, I want to know. And then he's like, how about you clean yourself up, put on a nice dress, do your makeup, and go sell some houses. Great idea. I know exactly what I need to do. I need to go sell some houses. Perfect. But I didn't know in that moment. I was actually angry. I kind of wanted to punch him in the stomach in that moment. That's my little brother. And I went home, and that Monday, I did exactly what Raul told me to do. I cleaned myself up. I did my makeup. I wore a nice dress. And I looked at my phone, and I decided, it was pretty early. I looked at my phone, I go, someone in this phone wants to buy or sell a house. And I need to find out who. Perfect. I'm going to call them all right now. Wait a minute, what are you going to say to them? Oh, yeah, that's right. I need to have a pitch, something I need to say to them. And then I'm just sitting here, you know, fast pacing. My mind's just going nuts. And MLS, houses, investments. That's right, investments. Let me look at all the investment pool in our areas and find out which are the top ones that I'm going to pitch to these people. How much is it going to take to renovate these houses? How much is my client going to invest in this? I never even had these thoughts in my mind. How much is my client going to invest in this? And how much are they going to walk away with? How much money am I going to make them? That was it. That was the thing right there. So I did, and mind you, I never rehabbed a house, so I was kind of in a way kind of inventing these numbers, but I was pretty good at math, you know, that kind of thing. So I was almost spot on, and that kind of became like my my strength in that area. So I called, and 2 guys answered that calling, and 2 guys decided they wanted to go look at these houses with me. And that day, I sold both of those fellas investment homes, cash deals that I closed a week later. And the next thought in my head was, well, I can do this all day. And I kind of did, because I didn't even realize until Fred Tashauer told me I had 40% of the investors in my area, which I thought, oh, wow, I don't even look at numbers. I'm just hustling, just grinding, and, you know, fast, just go. No wanting to stop. But like you said, you do kind of have to stop, because, you know, it's your life. You gotta have like the life thing and forget about that. So just don't get burned out. Do what you gotta do. Learn. There's so many opportunities. So many people actually want to help you. So just get out there and, you know, do your thing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Iris. Yeah, let me say this, because there's a lot of very high performers in here, but I will make sure, I will tell you this for sure. If somebody tells you that there hasn't been a moment in their real estate career that they're like, what am I doing? They'll lie to you about other stuff. So just let this be. I truly do believe this. Like Ira said, there are moments where you can make decisions. Man, I hope this couple of days that we're here in Omaha, that there's some of you that make some decisions about what you want your life to look like and start taking action on it. And I just appreciate, Iris, the transparency. I appreciate the story, and just thank you for sharing. Absolutely. All right, let's keep moving then. Alan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell them a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, Alan Williams, Indianapolis, Indiana. So if you guys have anyone going to Indy, I'm your guy. First thing I want to do is congratulate all of you for being here, and, I mean, putting the effort in. We're all wanting to elevate our business in one way or the other. To celebrate, we've got a couple trays of Fireball shots. Bring those in. I'm just kidding. Tonight, though. Tonight. All right. So, all right, I got your attention now, right? Okay. All right, guys. So, you guys have all heard of QR codes, right? Well, have you ever heard of Spoke Note? All right, you guys don't follow basketball, because it was on the jersey for the Indiana Pacers the last 2 years. Spoke Note is basically a QR code. And what it is, it's technology to put video on anything that you put this QR code on. So instead of the QR code taking them to a website or a landing page, it takes them to a video. that always stays on that QR code. So every one of these spoke notes, it's like a fingerprint. They could go back to that spoke note 5 years, 10 years from now, that video is still going to be there. The thing that's nice is it's trackable. You see how many people went and looked at it, and you could put these things on literally everything. Basketball jerseys, places that we've put them and used them, anything from business cards. Imagine, you've got a listing and it has a boat dock. You want to make sure that the person that's in that house knows how close the boat dock is. Well, we did a video. We had a nice sign up in the house that says, hey, this house has a boat dock. Do you know how close it is? Scan this. They scan it. It's a video of me getting on a golf cart and riding to the boat dock, talking about the neighborhood. 2 minutes later, we're at the boat dock and we're saying, see, people's biggest complaints about boats is how long it takes them to get there. You're there in 2 minutes. So what are the things that is in that house you want to make sure that these people don't miss? And you can't trust the agent to look at the BLC sheet or the MLS sheet and tell them, right? You've got to make sure that you do that. What better way to do it than video? And the beautiful thing is, if they capture it and they go home, it's still on their phone, right? So they could look at that later. But we use these on everything from, if I'm at a restaurant and I see somebody that has a Vietnam veteran hat on, I'll do a bunch of these spoke note codes. I'll put them on like a Culver's gift card. And as I'm walking out, I'll slide it to the gentleman and to the lady and say, thank you for your service. They don't know who I am. They're going to scan that, look at it, and it'll have our information. But again, it's just a thank you. But we use these things on print advertising. We use these things on, this is farming. This is for my neighborhood that I live in. This particular one talked about, we did this earlier this summer, we had 8 sales in this neighborhood. If they scan the code, it said, hey, we've had 8 sales in the neighborhood, but here's the interesting thing. Half of these sales, these houses weren't on the market. We had buyers that wanted to be in. We had sellers that were considering selling that didn't want the hassle of putting their house on the market and having to have 100 people through. And we were able to bring a client in, get the terms they wanted. In some cases, they were able to stay in the house for multiple months after the closing. So their new one was ready. They didn't have to do a double move, and it worked out great. And oh, by the way, we've got 6 more clients that want to be in Hamilton proper. From $700,000 to $2 million. Is your house one of those? We get lots of sales, lots of phone calls from that. We also do a mailer every month to 150 divorce attorneys, CPAs, and financial advisors in our area. And we'll put a QR code on each one. And lawyer, in this case, the divorce attorney, scans it. And it's an opportunity for them to see our face and say, hey, hopefully you're recognizing us. We're sending this to you monthly. And oh, by the way, if you have a client that needs to sell or buy a home because of a divorce or a separation, please use us as a resource. And here's why. We can talk about our experience. In this case, I can say I've been divorced. I know the stress that puts through a family. I know how emotional selling a house can be. And I know that usually in a situation where there's a divorce, one party is feeling a little bit slighted than the other. We do a really good job, by the way, of making both people feel heard, respected, and our goal is to make this sale the easiest part of this journey for your client. So we do that for, again, divorce attorneys, CPAs, and financial advisors, and we have a little bit of a different message for each one. But we just had a closing 2 weeks ago that we got from a divorce attorney. It's actually my divorce attorney. And it was great. We also do the spoke note code. This is a mailer that we did in Fishers, Indiana. Our population is about 100,000. We sent about 10,000 of these out. We use everyday direct mail through the post office, super cheap. But as you can see, it was really just a very simple message. Have you considered selling your house in 2025? If you did, you got to watch this video. They scan it. We're in like 5 different places in Fishers giving the spiel about why they should be listing with us and don't trust the website algorithms. No offense, Zillow. And just giving them reasons to pick up the phone to call us. Are you curious about your value? We've seen situations to where houses have sold too low and you've given up that hard-earned equity. We've seen situations where houses are priced too high and you're chasing the market. And if your market's house been on the market 2 weeks, it's like, oh, what's wrong with it? It's so different than it was not too long ago. But we use it for that as well. The other things that we have, the QR codes are if you go by a house and let's say that there's a yard sign out front, somebody's got an anniversary or a big birthday, we'll just shoot a quick video from the car, put it in a card, stick it in their mailbox, and hey, John, happy 50th birthday. Have a beer on us at the local restaurant that's there. There's a $10 gift card. And oh, by the way, if you ever need somebody to give you any advice on real estate, if you're curious about return on investment on any projects you have around the house, if you're curious about what your value is, anything like that, please use us as a resource. This is a monthly mailer that we do to our Center of Influence list. We mail this out. We always try to add value. You've got some agents that send recipes and stuff, and hey, that's great for some people. For us, we just really try to have something so that they look at it. But what we find is, Mr. Homeowner might get it in the mail, look at it, throw it away, and the other person never sees it, or vice versa. So what we did is we started adding these QR codes to it, and every month it's a different message. In some cases, like for instance, this one talks about, hey, what's the best return on investments that you can do on your house over a weekend? We'll give them some examples on that. And then the other thing that we'll tell them is, oh, by the way, if you're considering doing these things and you need help, we have the contractors for that. We've got contractors that we've used for well over a decade. They take amazing care of our clients. They work our clients into their schedule. They're going to show up. I mean, we've all dealt with contractors since COVID. It's really hard. And there's a lot of frustration out there. And oh, by the way, they're not going to charge you an arm and a leg, and you can trust them. And what we have found is we're getting phone calls from people that we've never worked with before that just said, my friend said that, hey, you call Alan, he's going to be able to give you the information. And when it comes time to sell that house, who do you think they're going to trust in that situation, okay? The other thing that we use it for is expired listings, and this one's been huge for us. So if we have an expired listing in our area, if it's under $400,000, we'll send out a nice brochure in the mail. This is the front cover of it. It's an 8-page brochure, and it'll be in an 8.5 by 11 black envelope, and there's a QR code that's in it. Well, we have that same version of that brochure, but if it's over $500,000, we drop off a 1 foot by 1 foot square box with a big bow on top and our logo. Deliver it to the door the day that it expires. They open the box up. There's a big red balloon that comes out that says sold with our logo. It's attached to this brochure, but on the brochure, it's got a QR code with a video of me saying, hey, listen, obviously your home has expired. You're going to get a lot of phone calls. You're going to get a lot of emails. You're going to have stuff that comes in the mail. Here's what we ask you to do. If you're considering listing with another agent, take a look at what you're getting from the other agents and take a look at what we're giving you. This is what we're going to do for your house when we list it again. And oh, by the way, on the back cover of this brochure, there's 160 houses that the sellers were in the same position as you. These were all homes that did not sell. Sellers were frustrated. They switched to us. We got them all sold. Being delayed is not being denied. And this time around, we're going to help you get your house sold. So those are the ways that we use this QR code. And there you go. Oh, one last thing. If you guys email me, awilliams@bhhsin.com, I'm going to get you guys set up for registration, and they will send you a free packet of these spoke notes for free. Try it out. Check it out. But I promise you, people keep these things around. They're using them.
Thanks, Alan. All right. Kelly, do you get us?
Okay, I'm I'm Kelly Boehmer. I'm from St. Louis. I have a medium-sized team. We do about 350 units a year. We are a heavy listing team, so we're way more. Sorry, I got to look at this to get the pick up my. So we're way heavier on the listing side than the buyer side. And I want to say before I start talking, I have no affiliation with Zillow. I don't care that they're standing out there in the lobby. I'll say whatever I want to say. If you know me, you know I'm a straight shooter. I'm not going to BS anything because they're sitting out there in the lobby. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about it. But I think we have to focus in this market on standing out, right? Whether it's a buyer's consultation or a listing presentation or whatever it is, you have to focus on standing out. And I think that probably, like many of you, the large part of my business is repeat and referrals. I'm sure it is for a lot of you. And I think people think you don't have to stand out with repeat and referral business, but I 100% disagree with you. People who have done business with you before, when they come back, have you come back to sell that home, they want to know that you're doing something different, that you can't say, oh, I'm going to do all the same things I did for you last time. You have to show that you are growing and you are evolving with the business. So it's not just about standing out to new opportunities, it's about standing out to those repeats and referrals also. So we had the opportunity several years ago to participate in the beta trial for Zillow Showcase. At the time, we were a Zillow partner, investing not to the level of some of you in this room, but we were significant investors. Zillow has played a large part in the growth of our business, but had the opportunity and let us tell you about this and whatever. So I signed up to be a part of the trial, and I was hooked immediately and have continued it and have also eliminated other marketing aspects of my business to grow my subscription with Zillow Showcase because it has been beneficial. So I'll just kind of give you a high-level overview. If you're interested in it, I know Vince is working on some things for the brokerage, which is awesome. We've been talking about it quite a bit. I think it's a great opportunity for the brokerage, and anything we can do, I think there's a lot of fish out there, right? And there's a lot of companies you can join, and anything we can do to make our brokerage stand out, I'm always in favor of. So just a high-level overview of some of the things that Zillow Showcase offers. That is a listing-based program, but I'm going to tell you how I think it also ties into buyers. So I just pulled up a basic search for an area that is popular in our St. Louis market. It's called Kirkwood, and million plus real estate is it's one of the only areas really in our market where we have million plus real estate, because as Sierra said up here earlier on her panel, we're average sales price in that 350 to 400 range pretty much across the board. So, but this is a market that is not only desirable, but it's also kind of saturated right now. It's probably one of the markets that has slowed down the most. So you can see, I just did a basic search, pulled up the zip code, and did a 1 million to 1.2, and you'll see there's 2 houses noted with Showcase. I don't know if you can see that, but the icons are a little bit different and they say Showcase. Those are both my listings. I think that's important that when a client looks at it on a map view, it has something that gains your attention. So that's kind of where it starts. Then when you see it over here, here's one of those listings. You're going to see it over here with that Showcase icon also. It intrigues people. They're like, what is Showcase? What does that mean? So I find that kind of, grabs people from the beginning. Then when you go into these listings, so this is one of those listings that's running. A couple of the big features, you can pick 5 pictures to carousel across the top, and simply the fact that it's moving is attention grabbing to people. I can't tell you how many people have said, like, how did you get your listing to look like that on Zillow? I mean, agents come up to me and they're like, how did you get that to happen? Well, number one, I paid for it. That's the first thing I tell them. The second thing is, I invested the time to make it look that way. If you are getting your listing reel of photos from your photographer and you're dumping them in the MLS, and they're showing up on Zillow in the exact same order that you dumped them in the MLS, this is not the program for you. I'm just going to tell you. You have to invest the time to go in and use the features that are given to you through this program to make your listing stand out. So it starts with picking those 5 photos. What 5 photos do you think are going to best showcase your house? You pick those, they run on a carousel. I'm going to come back to the side panel, but the other thing is when you go into the listing, you'll have all your normal Zillow stuff. You have your description, you have everything, but then it's going to take your pictures and it sorts them by room. I really like that because I think that consumers want to look at something, and if the kitchen's the most important to them, they want to go to the kitchen. If the backyard's the most important to them, they want to go to the backyard. But one thing that you have to recognize with this program, once again, you can't just, because AI is going to start that for you. It's going to take your great room pictures and put them in your great room, but you also have to personalize it. So I pulled up another listing, another area as an example, because this one has fantastic outdoor living space. So when we went in and tweaked the pictures and worked them in, we went in and added outside of the standard bedrooms, sorry, I gotta scroll down here to the covered patio and the pool. But we added these in special. They wouldn't have just shown up in those rooms because those aren't rooms that are necessarily recognized on that Zillow feed. So once again, you have to invest your time to go in and make the listing really look good and stand out. If you spend the money for the showcase listing and you spend the money for the photography and video and everything that has to go into that listing, and you don't take the time to put yourself into it to make it stand out, you're wasting your money. So inside each one of these room breakdowns, what I really like is the floor plan. So up here on the floor plan, you can see where the room is highlighted. So if you do a lot of relocation listings or buyers who are looking from a remote location, this is awesome because they can see exactly where in the house that room is. And then each one of the rooms also has a 3D tour where they can navigate through the house right there on the 3D tour. So those are just extra perks and features that come with this listing. So it allows you just to, take it to a whole nother level. There's other features that I'm sure they can tell you about. You get a salesperson, you get a rep, you can visit them out at the table. They can probably give you a way better tour than I can, but that's a high level overview of some of what I have found to be the most desirable features. For me, and I said this in the last session for those that were in that session, when they were first pitching this and talking about it, I'm like, okay, that's great. But when they told me that no other agent other than myself was going to appear on the side panel, I was in. So years and years ago, I had been with Realtor.com, and that's why I continued to invest, because I had the opportunity for only my name to show up on my listings. And when that went away, I went over to Zillow. And then I always wanted just to be the only one on my listings. And this gives me the opportunity to do that. If they're going to click contact an agent, request a tour, that's only going to go to me. It's not going to go to the person who's bought that zip code. So that's really important to me. And I'm respectful of other agents. I ask everybody who calls in, are you working with a realtor? If they're working with a realtor, I'm okay with that. I want the chance to sell my listing. I want the chance to tell them about the house. I want to tell them about the features. I don't care if you want to call your agent and come for a showing with your agent. Most of the time, they'll just go for one with me and it'll work out fine. But I do find that is really beneficial. We recently dropped from Zillow Premier Agent because, to be honest, I'm getting more leads off my showcase listings than I'm getting off of Premier Agent. So I think it's really beneficial. When it comes to standing out, I'm sure all of you guys, you go on a listing presentation and you've heard the adage that, agents are going to come in and 90% is going to be the same thing. 90%, we're all going to do 90% of the same thing. So I always tell sellers that. I say, if you're talking to other agents, great. I can sit here and tell you all the things that I'm going to do, and you're going to hear all the same things from all the same agents. I'm going to tell you the 10% of what I'm going to do that's different. And I list a couple things, and I drop this. I very seldomly don't get the listing. Nobody else is pointing this out. Nobody else is showing this. Nobody else is demoing this, except for you guys all probably will be now. These three are sitting in the front of the room. But I have yet to go on a listing. And granted, I was doing it before other people were, being a part of the test group, but I've not gone on one listing where anybody's ever seen it. I've never gone up against an agent who was doing it, and people are really impressed by it. I usually kind of save it for the end. I already have the listing selected that I'm going to demonstrate for them. It's usually something that's similar to their house, only just a little nicer, usually in the same area. And I will have a one ready to go, loaded already, queued up in my phone, show them some of the features. And it's, in addition to some other things, but it's definitely something I'm using to stand out.
Good stuff. You want to add something?
You and I talked a couple weeks ago. We talked a couple weeks ago that, your sellers at $800,000, $900,000, $1 million, they love it. It's a seller tool. It's getting you the listing. It gets your price reduction, which we didn't talk about. But also, because houses are staying on the market long, but your lower end listings, you said, Vince, when I love putting on my $250,000 to $350,000 listings, because those buyers are substantially less likely to have an agent than an $800,000, $900,000 buyer.
Yeah, I think when I first started using this, because of the cost involved, I'm not going to lie, it is more expensive than it is to just photograph your regular listing. There's a lot of elements included in here. That I think that naturally your thought process was only to do it on the higher end listings, but it's actually been way more profitable for us on our more affordable and entry level listings. It's been every bit as profitable because these people are less likely to have an agent. So when they click contact agent, we have a much better opportunity of securing that lead, whether it's on this property or another one. So it's been an excellent generator. It has been very beneficial for gaining or getting price reductions because the data, I mean, like I said, the Zillow people can tell you what the data is for how many more clicks and views and saves and all that kind of stuff. But the data is really, really helpful. They're also piloting another tool right now that I'm finding really helpful, but you can take a discovery listing or a listing you're working on, and you can put in 3 different price points, or I think up to more. I've only done it with 3. But like this one, I put in 3 different price points. I took their Zestimate, and then I took a couple other price points, and it can tell me before I list the property what the interactions are of similar listings in the price range and in the area. So these are some of the tools that are available through the program, and I think these are only going to evolve, and I can't wait to see what it brings.
Good stuff. We're going to take a 5-minute break real quick.
Yeah. So